and go right here. So I thought I'd hop on this YouTube live stream now to tell you that it's okay to make mistakes in life. I had an incident in an exercise class yesterday, which was on the surface of it very, very minor. A little mistake that I made. And it brought up way more emotions than it needed to on the inside. Old stories, things from the past. And it made me reflect and go deeper. And it inspired me to do this video now because I thought this is going to help the right people. So, mistakes are a normal part of being human. This is a statement that can't be repeated often enough. Because sometimes we forget this and we think we're supposed to be error-proof, be on 24/7, performing 10 out of 10 in every situation, all of the time, know everything, and find everything intuitive. But this just doesn't match up with reality. It's not realistic, and you don't have to live life under this amount of pressure. A great example that comes to my mind is, say, Pirlo. Fantastic footballer, was a leader on the pitch. And I'm sure everybody that watched him play would agree that this guy is super competent and super skilled. But does this mean that he spotted every single pass, that every pass was accurate, and everything he did always worked? No. He still made mistakes. And this hits on a more general truth that every leader and person that you respect in life is a human that makes human errors. And a lot of the time, it doesn't deeply affect other people. And being competent is about never making mistakes. It's about being good at the things that are important in your life and getting things right most of the time and always learning, always growing. So I go to 2 exercise classes on a Tuesday, an outdoor circuit training class, like a boot camp, and then an indoor circuit training class, both with the same instructor. And there's a few people that do the same thing. We do the double workout. There's a bit of a gap between the outdoor class and the indoor one, so we tend to help the instructor set the class up by moving bits of equipment into the right place. I was fine with pretty much every piece of equipment, but I couldn't figure out the best way to move this stationary air bike, whether to push it backwards, tilt it towards me, which bit to grab while I was pulling it. So someone stepped in and corrected me because I wasn't doing it the right way. Then I moved it from A to B. So in the outer reality, that's what happened. But in my experience, it was what I would call a micro trigger. I could feel some old emotions from the past coming to the surface. I could hear my inner bully going off. And this is why. It all goes back to upbringing and earlier experiences in life. Or it certainly does in a lot of cases. And some people, they associate making mistakes with shame because it's not been normalized for that person. And if you've had experiences in the past where you made small errors, you didn't know everything, and you felt ashamed, humiliated, or embarrassed because of this, these things can stick with a person and it can create a wound. If you've not healed and resolved that wound, it's going to surface at some point in life. Unless you're living in complete avoidance, you're going to have to face that trigger. So you might as well face it sooner rather than later. So in my case, it does go back to upbringing as a kid, where mistakes were not normalized, they were shamed. So if, for example, I dropped a fork or I spilt some drink as a kid on the floor, rather than the mistake being treated as normal, there would be a shaming process. My mum might scream, "Why does no one effing respect this house?" Then I would get shouted at and told it's embarrassing, and it would be an extreme reaction to quite a small incident. And this became normal. This was my experience. And if you've been screamed at as a kid and shouted at, you've been shamed. It's almost the same as a trauma, because the way that our bodies they interpret shame. So shaming can mean being kicked out of the tribe. Shaming can mean not being looked after. So when we're shamed for making a mistake, our body actually goes into the fight, flight, or freeze response. So shaming from somebody else, when you're growing up, can result in you internalizing that you're not good enough, that you're incompetent, you're stupid, you're not talented, you're broken. You can internalize these harmful, self-critical comments. And this is often because we like to think that our parents are perfect. And in situations where we've tried our best and it hasn't quite worked, rather than think that the system's flawed, my parents have flaws because they're humans, we instead conclude that it must be our own flaws. And as long as we can believe that it's our own flaws, there's something that's possible to fix. So when there's shaming involved as a kid, it's quite common to internalize that and think there's something wrong with you. So you build up a whole story and meaning around making mistakes. And your body holds the energy inside itself because the freeze response was activated. What this means is that you go through life and you're really afraid of making mistakes. Because when you make mistakes, firstly, you've got your own story to deal with. Your inner bully will come up saying that you're not good enough, you're worthless, you're rubbish, you're not competent, all these things. So there's going to be self-attack. There's going to be these emotions of shame and embarrassment as well, which are painful and not easy to face. So we're afraid of making mistakes because mistakes haven't been normalized for us, treated as something shameful rather than something that is okay, acceptable, and fundamentally human. So the solution to this is to go out there and make mistakes. When it happens, you want to completely own how you're feeling. Don't be afraid to feel shame. Don't be afraid to feel however you feel, and be there with those emotions and work on the mindset. Ask yourself, The way that I'm speaking to myself right now, would I speak to a good friend like this if he or she had made the same mistake? If the answer is a no, then why are you speaking to yourself like that? You want to replace the self-critical dialogue with self-compassionate dialogue. For example, there's no shame in human error. A little mantra that you can tell yourself is that mistakes don't disqualify me, they humanize me. You can think of all the people that you really look up to and admire in life and remind yourself that they're just human, they have flaws, they make mistakes too. Tell yourself that it's completely fine to not know everything. What's intuitive to one person might not be intuitive to the next person, and that's okay as well. Self-trust is important. You've got your way of solving problems, your processes, your thoughts, and that's really, really helpful in most situations. But still, there's always going to be blind spots. So you can't go through life expecting to never slip up and make mistakes. Too much pressure. Instead, you have to fail your way to success. What's important is how you move through life on the big picture, in the grand scheme of things. You know, if life is a giant painting, one brushstroke, it's a small detail. And I'm sure you can probably agree that if you didn't attack yourself so much for making small mistakes and you was actually on your side, you would go further in life and you would actually give more to the world because you'd carry yourself a lot lighter. Another dimension to add to this as well, something which is known in behavioral psychology. Because shaming induces the freeze response, makes people afraid. Shaming actually has a negative effect on motivation and self-esteem on a long-term basis. It's associated with a low sense of self-worth and this defeatist attitude towards life. Almost like, what's the point in trying if things aren't going to work? Because we're afraid of failing, we're afraid of being shamed, humiliated, losing. So we think, let's not try to avoid this potential disaster. But the real failure is in not trying. Choosing to avoid and not having the courage to face that possibility, that's the real failure. Going for it is the real success. Every person on this planet has enough competence. So we're all born equal. I know some people, they don't believe this, but I personally do. The way I see it is everybody is fundamentally capable. And this is why, from a biological point of view alone, look at your DNA and how long your DNA has remained on the planet for. It's not one or two cycles of being passed on to offspring, then passed on again. It's many, 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 many millions of years of evolution, constant refinement, constant upgrades. It's made it through every single time. That wouldn't happen if there was something wrong with you. So just the fact that you're a living human being that's gone through that much evolution, and you've not been weeded out by natural selection. Nature hasn't rejected you. Nature hasn't said that you're not enough. So why is someone else's opinion stronger than nature's opinion? So we all have different DNA, and we're also wired differently. What's easy for one person might be difficult for somebody else. And that's how it's supposed to be. We all have different strengths. So, for example, before becoming a coach, I was doing a PhD, scientific research in a lab. By super hard work, sheer determination and grind, grafting, I could get by, and I could have had a career as an okay scientist. Not the best, not amazing at it, but okay. Getting by, competent enough. So I could have done that. But that wasn't my calling in life. It wasn't my deeper purpose. Something that I was naturally okay at, but not something that I was naturally gifted and brilliant at. That's why I moved into coaching. I'm a lot naturally better at coaching than I was at science. And this is my purpose in life. It's the one-to-one coaching, events. Over time, it's going to be social media as well. Someone might there might be a really average pilot out there that'd be the best heart surgeon. There might be someone who's a bit of a crappy accountant that would make the best pilot. But the person wouldn't necessarily know that if they've not been playing to their strengths in life. The way that I view this is, it's almost like we have a map inside our mind of how we view ourselves, the world around us. We navigate life through this map. This map is our internal process. When you've been shamed, you've learned to doubt your own map. You've learned to think that there's something wrong with your natural way of doing things in life. Your way of speaking, your way of being, your way of solving problems. And because of that doubt, you've basically lost trust in your own processes. But your own processes, they work. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. They've passed all those rounds of evolution, natural selection. Your processes for solving problems, they are good. In certain areas, they're brilliant. And in life in general, they're fine. So fundamentally, you are competent and capable. And there is some things in life that you can be brilliant at when you discover those things. So making a mistake is not a sign that you're not competent as a person. It's not a sign that you're fundamentally flawed. If this is the case, then every human on the planet is fundamentally flawed, so we're all equally flawed. Most people are good at some things and less good at other things. So the worst case scenario conclusion that you can draw from making a mistake would be that this does not play to your strengths in life. This is not what you're naturally gifted at. So you must be naturally gifted at something else. That's the harshest possible interpretation that you could place on you making some mistakes in life. And a lot of the time when you look at all the factors at play, you actually realize that you didn't have as much control as you previously thought you did in those moments where you slipped up, made a mistake, didn't understand something. I'm going to go on an interesting tangent, which does relate to this. So this is the interesting tangent. So fear can physically affect your body and health. Fear can make you have yellow skin, and fear can affect your shoulders. It can affect your posture. Chronic stress, fear, and anxiety. And this is how. So if you have constantly high levels of stress in your body, you're going to have a low level of inflammation all of the time. This 100% impacts your physical health. And because you have really high levels of cortisol, stress hormones, your liver has to work really, really hard to clear out the excess stress. So it puts a lot of pressure on your liver. This can result in people who have experienced really high levels of stress and internalized fear. It can cause their skin to change color because of its effects on the liver. And this is why I had yellow skin when I was in high school. I had a lot of social anxiety, extreme levels of fear, selective mutism. My skin was yellow during those years of my life. Physically as well, aside from the high levels of stress hormone, your body often braces for impacts when you're afraid. That's the freeze response at play. So rather than being loose and flowing, you're stiff and tense. Your shoulders often hunch forwards, your stomach tenses up, your shoulders, of course, and your chest, your back, your pelvis, and protecting your internal organs. And this can cause blood flow problems, prevent nutrients getting to all parts of your body equally as it should. Lots of imbalances going on. Because you have lots of stress, it can result in more infections because it's an immunosuppressant as well. And because shame and shaming triggers the freeze response in the body, the fight, flight, or freeze response, shaming can have a big impact on physical health. And this is just meant to highlight the importance of not shaming yourself and breaking that cycle. So if you make mistakes and you feel terrible as a result, embarrassed, ashamed, it's an overreaction. It's basically a sign that you've been shamed at some point for making a mistake growing up, and you've internalized that as a you problem rather than just a natural human error that anybody could have made in that moment. And because you've internalized it, you're now shaming yourself, and you're keeping that cycle alive. And when you break that cycle, the next time you make a mistake, you're not ashamed to feel how you feel, and you replace those negative self-critical comments inside your mind with compassionate, confidence-building self-talk, Mistakes don't disqualify me, they humanize me. I don't need to get everything right first time. Some things are not that intuitive and take a bit of time to figure out. Trial and error. I'm just a mere mortal. It's okay to not be on the ball 24/7. All the best people in life that I deeply respect, they make mistakes as well. So why is it not fine for me to make mistakes also? When you start to talk to yourself in this way, and that's your response to making mistakes, you practice it. Over time, you'll realize that you can make mistakes and your body doesn't respond in the same over-the-top, strong way. It's about reconditioning yourself and breaking those cycles which are keeping you stuck rather than helping you out. So very, very practically, what do you do the next time you make a mistake and you feel triggered as a result? So firstly, when you get some space, you can do a breathing technique called 4-7-8. So breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. Do this 3 or 4 times. Allow yourself to feel whatever sensations that you're feeling. Then start to observe your inner dialogue. Anything that's self-critical, associated with shame, don't listen to it. Don't fight back. Don't respond. Just observe it. Observe but don't engage. Then have the opposite dialogue, which you're training yourself to take in. Mistakes don't disqualify me, they humanize me. The people that I respect most in life, they make mistakes too. I don't need to know everything. It's okay to fail my way to success. I'm okay with this. Repeat this every time you make a mistake and feel triggered. Over time, you won't feel triggered as a result of making a mistake because you've changed your wiring and how you treat yourself. No more shame associated with making mistakes. It's normal and fine. That allows you to move on. So in the future, I'm going to do virtual events. So I'm aware that not everybody can get down to my in-person events in Birmingham. And going to events and chatting to people about things that you're struggling with, opening up, that connection, that energy, it's so much more powerful than watching content on social media. I spent nearly 10 years watching videos on YouTube when I was growing up, overcoming social anxiety, different challenges that I had. They helped me out a bit, but when I started to receive one-to-one coaching and go to events in person, it was worlds apart, so much better. And this is why in the summer, when my setup is totally on point with the great camera and the wireless mic, all these different things, I'm going to be doing virtual events. So you can really open up and have that dialogue that's effective. The problem with a lot of content on social media is that you may think that it's what you need to hear because it's what you're searching for. But often we're unconscious to what we really need to hear to get us unstuck. And it's in that conversation and dialogue that you gain clarity and you realize what the real problem is that you need to work through. And we all know that you don't build courage and confidence by consuming, you build it by real world experience. So the virtual events that I'm going to put on, they're not going to cost anything expensive. Just a few pounds to make sure that I know who's going to be there. It's a fun, structured virtual coffee social to get people opening up, connecting, making new friends, different group exercises so that everyone gets a chance to push their comfort zone and grow, get things off their chest that are bothering them, and come away feeling more confident than they arrived. So if you want to check out my virtual events, um, I'm going to paste in a link to my landing page, and you can scroll down to my meetup group, join my meetup group, and then you'll get notifications when my virtual events are coming out. You can join in, meet some people, socialize, and have a lot of fun. So I've really enjoyed today's live stream. Feel free to watch it when it's uploaded so you can see the whole video and you can feel more normal about making mistakes, not shame yourself, carry yourself a lot lighter in life. Until next time, have an awesome rest of your day. I'm going to enjoy some of this great sunshine.